Welcome to IMF Fitness. My name is Dwayne and I'm your host. Today is all about CrossFit, and we have the 16th fittest man in South Africa, Michael van Tonder, as our guest. Michael is a biokineticist, a sports scientist and a business owner. We're going to be speaking about his athletic journey into CrossFit from rugby and how the general population can get involved. Michael van Tonder, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks.
I love your shirt.
Thank you.
CrossFit, boom.
Yeah.
Big in the open. Just tells everybody what we're speaking about today.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about CrossFit. I actually want to know about your journey. You've got such an interesting story, and maybe we should go back a bit. So let's go back into your rugby career and touch on that. Why did you go from rugby and how did it land up being CrossFit?
Yeah, so I grew up playing rugby, cricket, athletics, all the sports that a young boy can do in South Africa. And I went through the ranks and I played competitive rugby. I think the first time I played proper competitive rugby was under 18 Academy Week. I made the Western Province Academy Week under 18 after trying for years and years to make a provincial side. I went to Paul Boys High School, which is like breeding grounds for props in South Africa. So I had good coaching and eventually made it to the under 18 side. And the year after that, I played under 19 Currie Cup for Western Province, where I picked up a few injuries and I had a shoulder up at the end of the year, so that put me back a bit. I didn't get a contract to play senior level rugby, but I went to study. I went to study sports science, BA sports science, hopefully, or I was aiming to get into a biokinetics degree. I played a bit of Marties, under 20, young guns, and eventually made it to the first sides, playing club rugby after a few years. And then my rugby career came to an end, injuries and life things happened. And then I was stuck. I've always enjoyed conditioning. I sometimes enjoyed conditioning more than the rugby itself, the conditioning sessions. And I love the science behind what your body can do and how far you can push your body. And I was always pushing the limits. So I started playing around in the gym and found CrossFit. I started doing weightlifting in Olympic weightlifting under 19, so we had like power cleans, all your movements that you can do that won't necessarily hurt you, that doesn't require all the skills like squat snatches and squat cleans and a lot of overhead stuff that can cause injury if you don't do it right. We did power cleans and power snatches and stuff like that. So I got a good base in weightlifting, and then I started weightlifting when I was 22 years old. That was in 2016 after I stopped playing rugby. And I just loved it. It was super technical. No one coached me. I coached myself from watching YouTube videos. And eventually I came across a CrossFit video. And then I was like, okay, what's this? My brother was actually doing CrossFit for about a year before me. And I was always tuning him and saying, oh, what is this cult? And it's a bunch of egoistic oaks just gooing in the gym and shirts off and, all the boots. And I did my first CrossFit workout by myself in the Susby gym there at Marty's, and it was 2159 thrusters on 40 kgs, which is 95 pounds, and bar facing burpees, and it killed me, but I loved it. I loved the feeling lying on the floor, absolutely dead, but it felt so good. And from there on, I just started doing more CrossFit workouts that I could find online. And eventually, I took the leap and I joined the CrossFit gym in, when was that? October 2016. And that was my first introduction to a CrossFit gym.
2016. That's a short space of time. I mean, we're in 2020 now, and I looked on the statistics this morning. The South African leaderboard says that you're sitting at 16th place in the country out of about 2,000 participants.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant.
Thanks.
It really is. I've been watching you now for the last 2 years, and just looking at your CrossFit journey. And I think you have got what it takes to become a professional athlete. I think you could do this as a career, you know, and I've watched and trained with a lot of good athletes, so I think for me, you are one of the guys that I really do believe can take it all the way if you're serious about it and if you stick with it. It needs to become and encompass your whole life like it sort of has for you. So yeah, you are on the way to making it happen though, and it's going to be an exciting journey for us to stick with you through it and, you know, watch the whole process and all your successes unravel in front of us. Let's go back a little bit more. So, you know, your body obviously had to change a lot. You said you were playing prop.
Yes.
So prop, heavier position. Obviously, you don't want to be carrying around excess weight for CrossFit, but as a prop, it obviously helps you to be as heavy as you can be. How did that all happen? How did you lose all the weight? And also, what was that transition like from going from that type of training to the CrossFit training?
All right, so let's go from the beginning. I was always an active kid, but I had a eating problem. So I would literally just chow whatever my parents gave me, and I grew up with lots of bad stuff like sweets and chocolates every night and chips, and even though I was very active, I was overweight. I was almost obese if it wasn't for all the sports I played. So I was probably at my prime when I was 17. I weighed about 115 kilograms, which was also almost some of my best rugby playing careers, which is quite funny. Rugby playing periods when I was 17, 18, 19. Over the years, as the conditioning got more and more professional and we did more of the conditioning, I slowly went into eating more healthier foods. Obviously, I wasn't raised at Paul Boys, so you only had a choice of meat and veg. Even though the quality of the food wasn't great, you had to eat your veg, otherwise you wouldn't get more food, you know. So I started eating veggies in high school when I went to res, and always loved meats. But the main thing was the nutrition change, and obviously a little bit more conditioning. I was weighing 110, 111 when I was 18, 19, and then as the years went on, I slowly lose the weight. Now the catalyst of the weight loss was actually going from eating whatever was given to me at the Western Province Rugby Institute. Even though it was healthy, we just ate a lot of food because we needed to put on weight, we needed to be strong, and we trained a lot. But there was no calculations, or you didn't eat mindfully. You just ate whatever you thought would give you energy or it would give you strength for your training. And at the end of that year, once I had my shoulder op, I went back home. It was the end of the year, and my mom and my brother actually went on to Banting a couple of months before that. And then as soon as I got home, went onto a Banting diet, and in 2 months I lost 10 kgs. So it was literally just cutting out high processed carbs. Not all carbs, because I was still training. Even though I was in a sling, I was training on the bike, and I was doing legs and lunges and doing a lot of core and lower body work. And yeah, that's how I lost my initial prop weight. I still played prop at Marty's. I was just weighing about 106, 105 kgs, so 10 kgs lighter than what I was. I was
What do you weigh today?
96, 95, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously a lot more muscular.
Yes, more muscle, a lot less fat. So, yeah, the main thing was the diet, because I trained as hard as I do now. Maybe not all the rugby training doing now, but I mean, you can't out-train a bad diet.
No.
That's what it comes down to.
Sure. But the training's totally different as well, right?
Yes.
Rugby-specific training versus CrossFit training.
Definitely, yeah. In rugby, in the gym, we focus more on strength, especially for props. So strength endurance. Where in CrossFit, there's a lot more focus on gymnastic strength, power, and just all-around endurance, strength endurance and stuff like that. But as a prop, you always had to keep on weight to be heavy, especially me, because if I had to do all the conditioning back then, I would lose a lot of weight, and that's not ideal for a prop.
Sure. And tell me, with the gymnastics and the skill-based stuff, That must have taken you a longer time because obviously as a bigger guy, you know.
Yes, that's still till today. It's my weakness. It's something I need to work on every day to get better at, and it took a long time. It took about 6 months for me to get my first muscle up. So, and if you look at skills, that's the epitome of skills in CrossFit is muscle ups.
And the thing with CrossFit, it just keeps evolving.
Exactly.
And the skills keep getting harder and harder and harder.
Gets better and better. So you just need to get more and more unbroken muscle ups, and yeah. But it definitely took a toll on me, all the gymnastics, because I'm not that type of person. If I have a weakness, I'll work on it every day. And your muscles and your ligaments and your tendons can only take that much strain. So if you're going to do muscle ups every day for months on end, you're going to end up getting an injury. So that's why you need to take breaks from all the high skilled movements, especially for big guys like me. I mean, I was about 103, 104 kilograms when I started CrossFit, and I immediately wanted to do everything because I'm a competitive guy. I walked into the gym and these oaks are doing all these amazing things, and I wanted to try, and I tried and I got some of it, didn't get most of it, and yeah.
What was the motivation for you to keep going? And also, did you know then already, I want to take this seriously? I want to try and push my limits in this sport? Or were you doing it just to keep fit and healthy? So like, think about where you came from. So you had got to provincial level rugby. You could have probably taken your rugby career further if you had stuck with it. And then you join this CrossFit class. Like you say, you weren't the best in the class. I mean, if you had to rate yourself in that session of those class, where would you have considered to be?
Well, I could cycle a barbell pretty good. And I remember the first workout I did at the box was power clean and jerks. And I think, and running, it was those combined. And that came about in the top, with the top oaks, because I could run from rugby, and I was doing a lot of power clean and jerks from my own training in Susby gym. So immediately from day one, I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I think it was a third or fourth or whatever session, and there was a muscle ups programmed, and I was like, okay, let me try. And I was like, okay, no, I need to work on this. So that was the drive, is sucking at something and wanting to get better. I mean, as a competitive rugby player, it immediately goes over. You don't lose your competitiveness. It's just a total different ball game. It takes a longer time to get better at something in CrossFit than it is in team sports.
Yeah, because it's all on you, right? It's on the individual. Your weaknesses are all exposed.
Exactly.
If it's not exposed in this competition, it'll be exposed in that competition. It's just a matter of time.
And in CrossFit, most of the time, your heart rate is at like 80, 85, 90% plus, and then you need to do these highly skilled movements, which is, that's very hard.
And when you started your first open, do you remember where you came?
Yes, my first open, it was very daunting, because I mean the thought of competing against the whole world, as I'm already a competitive guy and I wasn't the best, so it was very daunting. But actually the first workout played right into my strengths, and it was 17.1, and it was snatches and burpee box jump overs. And I placed, I think, 32nd in South Africa. Now, as a rookie, or this is my first open ever, placing 32nd in South Africa was like, whoa, what's happening? I'm on the leaderboard, you know? I can see my name on the first page. And the next workout was something I suck at, and then I just kept on falling down. But I ended 92nd in South Africa in my first open, which was... It was good for me. It was just a good placing for me to say, I can do this. This is only my first open. If I work hard enough, if I never ever give up, I can climb the leaderboard slowly and slowly.
And how did you climb? So that was 2017, right?
Yes.
So tell us about the next years.
So 2018, I moved to Belito, and training was a little bit off from 2017 because of the move and starting a new job. And I couldn't put all the time in that I did while I was in honours year in Stellenbosch, which was to 2017. So 2018, I did the Open and I placed 82nd, so 10 spots better, but it wasn't that much of an improvement. So 10 spots, it was okay. I remember I did the Open alone, basically, in one of the CrossFit gyms in Melita, called CrossFit Kuza back then. I was doing the workouts alone. I had a judge, but there was no one supporting me. There wasn't that community aspect that was there. My first year, when everyone's standing around you and just cheering on and stuff. So yeah, 2018 Open was okay. I was a better athlete, but I wasn't improving as much as I thought I was.
And you had to be in the real world. You were working for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had less time to train.
And how does your job, so you're a biokineticist.
Yes.
How does your job as a biokineticist, how has that impacted your sport? Has it helped you? What do you think?
It definitely helped me, yes. Just understanding movement and for you to have the knowledge of how muscles work, how joints are supposed to move, how your body is supposed to move. That whole sports science knowledge.
The biomechanics and understanding the lever systems and pulley systems.
Exactly. I definitely have a slight advantage over other athletes if it comes to understanding the biomechanics and the physiology.
The physiology will be key as well, I suppose, for like planning programs.
Exactly.
Periodizing and nutrition and your rest and hydration cycles.
Yeah.
So it's good. I mean, it's a huge advantage because other CrossFitters would need to pay coaches for that.
Exactly. So I can for instance program for myself. I know that, let's say I have a limited pressing movements, gymnastic pressing movements. I can program workouts for myself that I know this and this and this will benefit me in getting stronger in pressing.
It's a hard thing programming for yourself. I love it, but it is also hard because you always in the back of your head you've got your strengths, and it's always fun to do your strengths. But what we should be doing is our weaknesses.
Yeah.
So it's nice when you've got a coach and that is looking out for you, and you are a CrossFit coach as well.
Yes.
So what have you done?
I've done my level 1, and then I did my weightlifting speciality course, and then my gymnastics speciality course.
Okay.
Yes.
And obviously now working from your own gym, which you own and run, and you've got your own members there, CrossFit Zulu. That was the next year, so 2019.
Yes.
And how did you do that year?
So 2019, it was March, April. The Open was still March, April, and obviously I had a lot more time training in a better environment with people. I was following a program more diligently. I was following ComTrain. And I followed ComTrain right from the start of when I started CrossFit, because that was what all the competitors were doing at CrossFit Athlete in Stellenbosch. But I just had more time and more focus on my athletic career. Obviously, I was also starting a box, but I mean, I had more time because I was at the box the whole time. So I think I finished 38th in 2019, the first Open of 2019. There was another Open in 2019 at the end of the year.
That was the first time they did that, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the first year when everything changed.
And they had 2 Opens.
Yes, so the Open moved from March, April to September, October. Yeah. And then that was called the 2020 Open, the second Open of 2019. And that was my best finish so far. I placed, 16th? My goal was top 15. Unfortunately, that last workout with all the ring muscle ups just kicked me from, I think I was 12th, and it kicked me from 12th to 16th in one workout.
So those muscle ups are still catching you.
Exactly. They are.
And do you think like your shoulder ups and that have had a role, or is it because of the shoulder ups, or is it because of your specific makeup of your shoulder, which is giving you a hassle doing that movement?
Rugby has definitely played a role in the injuries. All the tackling and all the exposed positions that you are in rugby and all the impact on your shoulders, that's definitely contributed to my shoulder injuries. Also, obviously, overdoing it in the gym, not listening to my body, because I'm just always pushing myself, especially when I started CrossFit. But yeah, rugby definitely contributed. I have very good shoulder mobility and stability, but I think injuries and just repetitive stress on the shoulder, your shoulder can only take that much. I mean, the joint is so volatile that can only take that much stress and strain.
Yeah, what op did you have there?
I had a latter J, so I had repetitive subluxations in my right shoulder, and I know it's because of me having a lazy arm when I tackle, because I never ever, well, not never ever, but I would have a lazy arm when I tackle with my right shoulder, and I won't wrap it around like you taught to, because I was a big guy and I had a heavy arm, so I can just throw my arm into a tackle and the guy would fall, you know, and that repetitive impact eventually led to subluxations. And I had about 3 or 4 serious subluxations where I could feel my shoulder pop out and go back in. And at the end of the 2019 season, I went for an MRI and they said, you've got weak ligaments. The ligaments weren't torn off completely, but they said it was lax. And if I want to play rugby, I would have to get a latter J to have a solid shoulder. So what a latter J is exactly is they move your long end of your bicep, they move it to the anterior capsule so that your shoulder can stop popping out anteriorly. So they literally move your attachment from your coracoid process, which is about here, and they move that attachment, they take a little piece of bone off of the coracoid process and they move it to the anterior capsule and they put it in screws. So that's exactly what happened to me. So I have a different shoulder anatomy than
me.
Yeah, exactly. And when I went,
can you feel it like your right compared to your left?
It is a little bit more stiff, yes, a little more tighter. I've got a tight bicep long head just because the anatomy's been changed. The shoulder has a little bit more mobility than this one, especially when I have to do single arm overhead stuff like single arm overhead squats or walking lunges and stuff when the one arm's up and the other. But when I went back to get the screws removed, because the screws it was irritating me, it was painful. And they say it happens sometimes, they just remove the screws, the bone has probably grown back to whatever it's attached to. Then I went back and then the guy said, okay, but the bone is dissolving. So the injury is like, the operation wasn't a success because the bone is dissolving. My body's eating that foreign object, which it's not used to having that bone there. My body's eating up that bone. I don't even know if that bone's there now anymore, but he took the screws out. I mean, there you go play rugby. So yeah, I think I had to call it quits after that first op. If I still wanted my right shoulder to be 100%. But I mean, yeah, I've done rehab and I do rehab every day. And if I don't warm up both my shoulders properly, I won't have a good session.
Yeah, do you get any subluxations now? Does the shoulder still, hinder you or like limit you from what you can and can't do?
Physically, it does hinder me. Mentally, no, because I can push through that physical injury I have. I can mentally push through it, especially when it comes to competitions, because you just have one goal in mind, and that's your strategy and how to finish first or finish your best you can. But yes, in training I've got pain most of the times at certain positions when I'm overhead, especially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strategy, that's a good word. So let's play off that a little bit. What is your strategies when you go into competitions? I mean, talk us through a little bit about the CrossFit competitions you've been involved in. So they'll throw in multiple days sometimes, and they'll give you, this is your workout and that's your workout on this and that day, but they don't always give you all the workouts, right?
Yeah.
So you can't completely plan your whole strategy for the competition.
Yeah, so there's a fine line between strategy and adapting to whatever they give you. I think the best athletes have a good balance between both strategy and adapting. I mean, what happens if your workout doesn't go to plan? You've got to adapt, right? You've got to adapt on the spot. And that's something you need to do in training as well. You can't always strategize a workout for yourself. You need to sometimes just jump into the workout, and as you go on, you can adapt to how your body's feeling. Your shoulders have maybe fatigued. But the best way to learn your own strategy and learn how your body moves and what systems in your body works better than others is in training and testing out as many different types of workouts as you can. So that's the awesome thing about CrossFit is there's not one thing that you can be good at or practice. Yes, when you learn the skills, you have to practice without fatigue. But there's millions and millions of workouts that you can just throw together, combinations, and you see how your body adapts. And that prepares you for competition.
Let's go back a little bit. I want to talk about banting. So we have an amazing professor here in this country, Tim Noakes.
Yes.
And he came up with this banting, the real meal revolution. Is that what you did?
Yes, that is.
Okay. Do you still do it today?
No.
All right. Why? Pros, cons, what sort of diet are you eating now, and energy levels? What would you go into? Do you change your diet before you go into a comp or your normal training? Do you try drop weight, or is that not something you consider anymore?
So banting essentially it's a healthy fat. Well, it used to be a high fat. Now it's described as a healthy fat, low carb, moderate protein diet. I think it's a very, very good way to eat if you are either diabetic or you have problems with carbohydrates. If your insulin levels are haywire, your body has produced too much insulin, and your cells have become resistant to insulin, then I think implementing a banting type diet is good for you, and you will lose fat, you will drop weight. But the sport of CrossFit is we use carbs a lot. That's our main source of energy. I'm not saying fats aren't important. We do eat fat. I mean, your hormones have got to work, your central nervous system's got to fire. But in the sport of CrossFit, we use majority carbohydrates. So over the years from banting, I would say I followed a banting paleo-ish diet from 2013 till about 2017. I even did banting while I was doing CrossFit, and that's also how I lost a lot of weight. But then my body started getting used to banting, and then I had to give it a shot, right? So I went more paleo, I dropped the fats a bit, up the healthy carbs, and just experimented with all the different types of diets you can. So yeah, my diet consists of majority carbohydrates. I would say between 45 and 55% carbs, depending on what time of the season I am. If I want to drop weight, if I want to maintain, or if I want to eat for performance, which is there's a big difference between the three. And then fats and protein will be about 25 to 23 each. Mm. So
are you measuring this on a daily basis? Do you plan your meals?
So last year, June 2019 was when I started measuring. I experimented with counting calories and stuff in my school days, university days. I always experimented. But since last year, June, I've counted most of the days for a year. Obviously, I don't get crazy and measure everything. Let's say it's a Sunday lunch with family, or you go to the restaurant. I'm not going to take my scale with me. There are people that do that, especially bodybuilders, that they make their money off how they look. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're an athlete, you're an athlete. That's what you do. I mean, if you're committed, you're committed. Yeah. So I won't look funny at someone at a restaurant with a scale. I'll understand. Mm-hmm. But yeah, counting calories, I've been eating in a calorie deficit, or what I think is a calorie deficit for my body since then. And then at the start of lockdown this year, I think I was in a calorie deficit for too long. Obviously there was little breaks like holidays and stuff where you don't count and you regress a little bit, but only a little bit, because you'll always have an idea of what your plate should look like. And then I went on to a maintenance. So I've been eating more food now, and I've actually lost more weight. So I always thought that, okay, 3,500 is like more or less maintenance for me. I must always eat less than that. So in a day, if you look at a week, you plan your calories on your intensity of the day and your volume. So Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, those are normally my hard training days. So I would eat a higher calorie diet, or I would eat more calories, especially more carbs. Thursdays is an active recovery day, so I would eat slightly less carbs and a little bit more fat. Protein always stays the same. And then Friday, Saturday, I will up the carbs again and take the fats lower. And then Sunday, I would also do an active recovery day, and that's normally just a walk, so I would completely bring my calories down. Not too much, but I would bring it down. Yeah, and then that's how I play with my calories, and I've been experimenting, and eventually came down to what I know what my body needs and how much carbs, fats, and protein my body needs to perform optimally.
So how many calories roughly are you having a day now?
Okay, so on my heavy training days, that's normally 2 hard sessions a day. I would eat about 3,800, 3,900, depending on how strict I was on the day. And carbs will be anything from 450 to 480, 490, pushing the limits on carbs. Protein always stays the same. I'm on 211 grams of protein, and then fats, on 100 grams of fat at the moment. Now on my lower intensity days or my active recovery days, I would bring the carbs down to about between 400 and 420. I used to bring them down to about 250, 200, between 250 and 300, but that was way too little for me, and I wasn't recovering from all the training the previous days. And then protein stays the same on those days, on the lower intensity days, and fats I just push up a bit to about 110, between 110 and 120. Yeah.
It's a lot of calories, you know, when you talk 4,000 calories in a day. I don't think a lot of people understand how hard you're training to be able to burn those kinds of calories, because obviously you need the calories to recover, repair the muscle, you know, and so that you can do it all again the next day.
Exactly.
But yeah, people must take that into consideration when listening, because you can't just go out and eat. I mean, I'm probably eating half of that. I reckon I eat around 2,000 calories a day now.
Sure.
Yeah, so I don't count anymore. But
it's not a lot of food, eh?
Just knowing what I do eat. Yeah, I mean, right now I don't need a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not training at the level that you are. So, you know, you've got to also watch your consumption according to your movement, you know.
Yeah.
If you're not moving and if you're not doing the damage to the muscle where you need that many calories, then it's just be counterproductive. You're going to be putting on unnecessary weight.
Yeah.
But obviously I'll up that when my training gets a bit harder. And
yes. And so, also, both of us have an active job, so you also have to take that into account. I mean, we do massages, we demonstrate the whole day long, so your body needs fuel the whole time, and it can never run out of fuel. Otherwise, you won't recover as much.
True.
Yeah.
I also started eating less purposefully when I started looking into longevity, and you know, there's a big movement towards eating much less for overall health and wellness.
Yes.
And it's much less taxing on your digestive system. A lot of that stuff in the digestive system that isn't consumed or digested from the enzymes, you know, just stays there as a byproduct, and you know, all of our 90% of our illness or sickness starts and originates from the gut, and there's a big movement to the gut health. So obviously learning about all of that, it's just another thing I'm trying. But as you know, when you're in this industry, you're trying something new all the time.
Exactly.
I mean, we've got to be giving feedback to our patients and our clients.
You've got to experiment in every type of diet, every type of training modality.
Yeah, it's, as a sports scientist, my body is just like one big experiment.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens, and then
I've done keto, I've done carnivore, we only eat meat. I haven't done veganism yet. I think I will try it just to experiment with it. Maybe not in a important part of the season, like maybe the off season, but I want to experiment with veganism.
Have you done the 1 meal a day diet?
Yes, I have actually. I've done that while I was doing the carnivore diet, where you would fast the majority of the day and only have one big meal at the end of the day.
What did you eat?
I had about a kilogram, or not a kilogram, that's a lot of steak, but I had a big piece of steak with egg and I think it was like with butter and cheese. So it was only animal foods, and that would fill me up. I mean,
I've seen you eat. It probably was a kilogram of steak.
Yeah, well, if you don't eat for 22 hours of the day, you spend 1 hour eating on a piece of steak.
How many calories was that meal?
That meal was about 1,500 calories.
It's low, eh?
Yeah. I mean, you can only eat that much food, plant food, animal foods, in one sitting, you know?
Yeah, you'll be sick otherwise.
Exactly.
And guys do it. I mean, I can't remember his name now. I've just hit a blank. But the oak invented Twitter and a whole bunch of things. He's quite a famous dude. He still eats like that. He's been eating like that for the last couple of years.
The 1 meal a day or the carnivore?
1 meal a day.
Oh, okay.
There's some big believers in that.
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey's his name.
There's a lot of people following that for longevity. I mean, they're giving their digestive systems a break.
That was the big thing that I was trying it for as well, was mental clarity. So a lot of the studies that I've done had shown that you are much more focused, sharper, alert, your concentration levels go up, and that when your blood's not rushing through to your stomach to be involved in digestion. Also the hormones are like at a more constant level without the insulin spikes up and down. So yeah, that was the main reason why I was trying it, Let's talk a bit about your company, Crossfit Zulu. I want to know a bit about your coaching methods. What do you do differently as a CrossFit coach, specifically knowing what you know about injuries? As an exercise scientist and as a biokineticist, you've got such an advantage. There's so many CrossFit coaches out there that are brilliant, but then you've got another whole bunch that are really shitty, and because they're doing a bad job, it gives CrossFit a bad name. I remember when we started in 2012, CrossFit had such a bad name in this town because of all the people getting injured. People would go and try it and literally injured the next day. And amongst us health professionals, we were like, well, we're getting so much business now. It was actually a joke. Like the chiropractors, physios and bios were just, getting all our business from CrossFit. But as CrossFit's changed and as the coaching has got better, obviously that's improved and it's less and less and less. And then specifically with guys like you, getting in the game and getting involved with CrossFit, knowing as much as you know, you've managed to reduce injuries and actually incorporate, a lot of your rehabilitation and a lot of the right way of training into your session, so people that would probably normally be injured aren't. So give us a bit of the method.
Yeah, so CrossFit as a strength and conditioning modality started as a way of training Navy SEALs and the military in America. So back then it wasn't a professional sport. So oaks would just do a bunch of highly skilled movements and try and do it as fast and as heavy as they can. So injuries will happen. As the sport progressed and as the first CrossFit Games started and it became more professional, more science sports science came into the sport, and people started training with more intent. Warm up properly, do your rehab before you go do muscle ups and squat snatches. So over the years, injuries have actually declined. It looks like it's picking up because more people are doing CrossFit. That's why it looks like everyone's getting more and more injured. So my approach to training, I wish I could go back to when I started CrossFit and have the approach that I have now. But it is literally, it's from day one you need to have the mindset of building slowly and be patient with the skills. Our bodies can do a lot when we have a lot of adrenaline in us, but that's not necessarily good for your anatomy. So I would say CrossFit has this triangle, the pyramid of the most important to the least important, or just steps you need to follow to get better at movement. And it's mechanics, so that's your biomechanics, that's the way you move, your mobility and your coordination and all of those things. Then it's mechanics, consistency, so you need to do the right movement consistently to be able to eventually pick up the intensity, and which means compete. So that's the exact same approach as I take. As a bio, I know how people should move. I know the joint limitations and the way the joints move and muscles move together, and that's the approach I take. When someone new walks into my gym, I'll never ever throw them into a class, even if they've done functional training before. I'll teach them the movements we do, and I'll make sure that they can do it right. If they can't, I say, you stay away from that movement, and I give them an alternative. So from day one, when someone walks into my gym, I teach them the right way to move and how I would like them to move. Eventually, I put them into a class and I would say, PT, Yani, Sunny, you guys are doing this instead of squat snatches or pull-ups, even pull-ups. So people hurt themselves with pull-ups. So yes, it's a long journey. People want to rush it. I rushed it and I've paid the price, you know, struggling with niggles a lot of the time. But yeah, that's the number one rule in CrossFit Zulu, is that you won't be bullied and pushed into something that your body doesn't like and it doesn't allow.
Where can guys find your gym?
We are based in Salt Rock in Ballito. Yeah, we're at the church, the Link Church. Yeah.
Website?
www.crossfitzulu.co.za.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And about your CrossFit journey, what's your plans for the future? How far are you going to take this?
So I have big plans. I mean, I've had these plans or these goals from when I started CrossFit, and obviously when you watch CrossFit videos on YouTube, you watch the CrossFit Games, right? And that's where we all want to end up one day. I mean, well, most of us start CrossFit having the goal of, oh, I want to do this, I want to be there. And then the more and more, or the longer you do it, you slowly realize what it actually takes to be a CrossFit Games athlete. And 0.01% of the population that does CrossFit makes it there. And so yeah, my goals is to compete internationally. So if it is a sanctional, I would like to be a competitive sanctional athlete. If I get to the games, that's one in a lifetime for me. I just think, I'm not making any excuses now, but I think that my injuries and also my build, because CrossFit Athlete has a build. It's a shorter guy that's better at gymnastics. So that's, I think the average guy is 5'10", weighing 190 pounds. That's the average for guys. I don't know what it is for ladies.
Can you convert that in centimeters and kgs?
190 pounds is 85 kilograms.
So it'll be divide 2.2.
Yeah,
85.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
85. And 5'10" is about between 176 178, I think.
I don't know.
Yes.
I can't remember the foot to centimeter calculation offhand. I'll have to use a calculator.
Yeah. So I am 96 kilograms. When I leaned out and I'm ready for the open, I'm about 94, and I'm 184 centimeters. So that's 6'1" and 211 pounds. Mm-hmm. 208 there, around about there. So I'm a slightly bigger athlete, but I don't have that in my mind. When you get on the floor, everyone's equal. There's no weight classes, there's no height classes.
I mean, some things will benefit you with that and others won't, you know, and that's the beauty of the sport. It's not just one event, it's a whole weekend of events to test you in the most physical way. And
that's exactly why I do it. Because I know I'm not physically built for the sport, but I'm pushing the limits every day. And that's what makes me happy, that's what keeps me alive. Is that constant drive to fuel the fire, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, goals would be to compete internationally at sanctional events. Now, a sanctional event is, CrossFit created these sanctional events. There's 28 of them around the world, and you need to qualify via online qualifier, almost like the Open. Wait, let me explain exactly how to get to the games, just quickly, in a nutshell. So, in the old days, you would do the Open, the whole world does the Open. You can do the Open, anyone can do the Open, okay? So, if you would get into the top 40, or depending on your region, there's 7 regions, or there was 8 regions around the world. Depending on the region, you would get a spot to the regionals, okay? In South Africa, we were part of the Meridian Regional, and 10 athletes from Africa would get a spot to the Meridian Regional. The Meridian Regional consists of Africa, Middle East, and the south of Europe. So the north of Europe has its own region, and that was called the European region. The south, Middle East, and Africa has a region called the Meridian region. So the top 10 from Africa would get a spot to the regionals, and then at regionals there was 4 spots for the Meridian region to then represent at the games. So 4 people from our region get an invite to the games. Other regions, there were 5. The American one was like 1 because it was brand
nothing,
new.
if you think about it. 4 people from all those countries.
Exactly.
It's like 3 different continents. in the Meridian region.
That was the old way of getting to the CrossFit Games. Now in 2019 they changed it up a bit, which I think was very good. It gives you more opportunities, and also it's a lot more athletes going to the games, but it gives you more chance to get to the game, a better chance. So now we still have the open. We used to still have the open, and then if you're number one in your country, and your country has an affiliate in your country, like let's say Lesotho has an affiliate, and they can send one representative to the games. So last year when we went to the games, it was the biggest game so far. There was 200 and something guys and girls from all over the world. I mean, representing the smallest of countries, like from all around the world, and that's the national champs. Now the other way is by getting top 20 worldwide. That's the hardest way to get to the games, because I mean you have to be the top 20 in the world to get to the games. So let's say for instance you're American and you're second in the world, but you're first in America. You would get your national champ spot and not the top 20 spot. So that the 21st guy in the world would then get the spot, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it just backtracks, it just goes there. So if you number one in the country, in your country, and you get 20th place, you get the number one spot. Now the last way to get to the games is through winning a sanctioned event. CrossFit created 28 sanctioned events, and if you win the sanctioned event, but you already have your invite to the games, the invite would go to the second guy at the sanctioned event. Or if let's say the top 5 all have invites to the games already, the 6th guy gets an invite to the games. So that's how some of the athletes ending up 6th, 7th, 8th place at a sanctioned event gets a spot to the games. So that's why I say it's a little bit easier these days to get to the games, even though there's more athletes.
How many do they take now? Because it was 40, right? 40 men,
it was 40 men, 40 women, and 40 teams. Mm-hmm. Now it is, I think it was like 200 and...
Yeah, I suppose it depends every year on how many countries actually enter.
Yes, and if some oaks don't get visas to go to the games, and then they don't invite anyone else because it's too close to the games. Mm-hmm. So it depends.
I think it's a brilliant method of finding the fittest in the world.
Yeah, well...
And it's the best competition in my mind to actually get your fittest human being in the world.
Because you get tested on everything. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love it. It was like, it's not just about weightlifting and gymnastics, you know, there's cycling, swimming, running, there's all sorts of things in there. Yeah. So, yeah, it really is a brilliant sport. I think if it gets refined to your average user, it's also the ideal way of training for your everyday person. You know, just that we need to modify it a lot more than it is.
Yes.
In a lot more gyms.
Exactly.
And give people the mindset of, listen, you don't have to do it as a competition. It can be a lifestyle.
Yes.
And this is what it's about, you know.
That's the importance of a good coach. I mean,
that's it.
You get 2 types of coaches. You get a cheerleader and then you get a coach.
Yep.
And cheerleaders like opening affiliates. So, yeah, we need more coaches than cheerleaders.
Yeah. And we need people that are realistic. I actually was reading something last week where it was saying that there's a movement now for personal trainers and coaches to have a degree, which is going to change things in a big way. And I really hope it does go that way, because there's too many people that have got like a CrossFit course, which is only a weekend course. Mm. You can be a CrossFit coach from one weekend, you know, and I don't think that's fair, because you're going and you influencing people's lives, and you know, you could injure somebody so badly that it affects them. Like, injuries are hectic. We've seen it, how people change psychologically after an injury. It can really just change the whole course of your life if you take it the wrong way. And a lot of people do take their injuries in a really bad way. Mm. So yeah, I hope they do change it. I hope that you have to have a degree to be a coach or a personal trainer or be involved in this industry at the level that we are, where you literally, someone's life is in your hands.
Yeah.
It is. Their well-being is in your hands. Yeah. It's a very important job. Let's talk about CrossFit and the future of CrossFit. Obviously, it was in the media a lot recently for a lot of bad things, you know, but what do you reckon going forward?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, if your sport goes into bad times like that, you are a bit worried and stressed and stuff. I think that CrossFit Inc., which is in America, CrossFit HQ, the company, I think they have to have a lot of changes for affiliates to stay affiliated. I mean, in the first week there was already like 200 gyms in the world that de-affiliated, which is what's 200 times $3,000, a lot of money. So big changes need to happen at CrossFit HQ for them to keep on getting the affiliates paying the $3,000. I think that, personally, I think that the CrossFit Games won't ever be as big as it was. I think there will maybe be sanctioned events because of money. You know, you can put a lot of money at the Rogue Invitational and at Dubai Fitness Champs and at Sanction X or Sanction Y. I think there'll be 3 or 4 big sanctions that athletes are gunning for more than the games. At the games you get
it's like
crowned.
its own Olympic Games, really. You know, like the Olympics of the old, what Olympics was like back in the day, where you did one athlete did everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, I think obviously everyone wants to end up at the CrossFit Games to be crowned the fittest on earth, because that's where you get crowned the fittest on earth. It's so unclear at the moment. We don't know the future of the games, and as we know it, we don't even know if there's going to be an open this year. So we're all waiting on CrossFit HQ to release some valuable information so that we can plan our seasons, you know. Especially with COVID and the lockdown and travel restrictions, and there were so many athletes that weren't going to be able to go to the games because of travel restrictions. I mean, athletes from Australia and Europe and South Africa and, you know, all over the world probably would have struggled to get to America in August to go compete.
Financially now?
No, just because they're not allowed to travel because of lockdown and travel restrictions all around the world. So, but yeah, I think the future CrossFit gym will not look and not be the same as it was from when it started. I think we're going to see a lot more independent movements. There's already been independent movements in America, big names de-affiliating their boxes from CrossFit and starting their own brands, or that have already started their own brand and that's just growing their own brands. Brands like NC Fit, which is Jason Kalipa's brand, OPEX Fitness, Ben Bergeron's brand, which is called ComTrain. So they've de-affiliated. We don't know if they're going to stay de-affiliated, but for now, they have gone their own route. And even CrossFit Mayhem from Cookville, you know, the GOAT, Rich Froning.
So that's big,
de-affiliated, yeah.
Really big names. And that can really hurt the sport, I think.
Exactly.
But let's hope not.
Yeah.
Let's hope they do something.
I mean, CrossFit has changed everyone that does CrossFit's life. And everyone has been influenced positively from CrossFit.
What is the ways that it's changed your life? I mean, what has CrossFit done for you that you could say to someone watching this? Like, let's take another 18, 19-year-old person, maybe a little bit lost on what to do or how to train after school, because that's what happens usually. You know, you train really well in school and then you finish school. Like, what do you do? So, CrossFit it's more about the people in the community. It's a community you walk into. Yes, you do fitness. Yes, you learn a lot about your body, how to eat, how to move, biohacks, and how to just be a healthier all-round person. But the main thing is that camaraderie inside of a CrossFit affiliate, which you do not get at a conventional gym, or even functional training centers that's not affiliated with CrossFit. That camaraderie and the community aspect is not there. I mean, my best friends I have now is everyone that I've met through the CrossFit community, and I am where I am today because of CrossFit. I was down in the dumps when I stopped playing rugby. I lost my mom due to cancer, and I lost my grandmom because of cancer as well. And that was when I started CrossFit, and I found this community. I found a group of people that was there for me. I fitted in, and it's amazing what it did to me psychologically and physically. It's amazing that something like CrossFit can help your psyche that much, especially going through trauma. You know, like you mentioned, just losing your mom and your grandmom, that must have been a massive downer, you know, like a huge psychological impact. Like, how old were you when you lost your mom?
I was 21 years old.
Massive. Obviously, you're going through your studies and going through life, just becoming a man, really.
Yeah.
And so the CrossFit really helped you there. Take your mind off things, put a new focus on.
Yeah. I remember when I started CrossFit, this is something I don't really share to people, but I mean, it's going to be out there now. When I started CrossFit and I started competing, I would always say a prayer up to my mom, and I would always tell her this is for her. And I would go through pain and suffer that I would push my body so far to try and experience the pain and suffer she went through when she had cancer. Because I remember times when she was in pain and she cried and she yelled out for help, but you can just do nothing to help her, because I mean, there's nothing you can do to help someone in pain, especially from cancer. And I would always say a prayer up to her and say this is for her, and I would push my body as far as I can to try and feel that pain that she felt. You know, so
that's really special.
That always pushed me to just give everything I have. Yeah.
It's amazing where you can draw that strength from, you know.
Yeah.
Even today, probably you're still using that, and you know, thinking of your mum. That's beautiful. It's a good thing to do. Well, thanks for sharing your stories. We appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure.
It's been good having you on board.
Yes.
And we'll continue this journey. We want to learn more about CrossFit, so let's see where it goes, and we'll definitely have you back on again. Maybe you'll update us on a positive on CrossFit and where we're going with it in the future.
Yeah.
Good job. Good luck for the season. Good luck for the rest of the year. Train hard. Don't stop now. Let's see where you can go. Finish off 2020 nice and strong.
Yeah.
We believe in you, and we'll be watching.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
It's a wrap.